Okay, so to truly change the direction that we're going, we have to change our emotions.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And so, if we are to do so, we have to take into account how emotions arise. And emotions arise from a thought and a use of energy at the same time. So we have a thought that evokes a gut reaction and starts to pull our energy towards the thought. So the heart acts as a filter for positive and negative emotions. And it's by being in your body and aware of how the thought makes the body feel that allows you to understand whether you should follow that trail and let that thought in, or whether you should ground that thought. And so, sitting like this, our orientation to the ground is like this. So gravity is holding our energy in a bowl in our dantian. And if we are meditating, say, we come up on a thought of a traumatic memory that we've had. Say that person's image comes into our mind, and we start to review the conversation. We start to think of the words that went through our mind. And so our body starts to clench up in the same way as when we had that traumatic memory. Well, if we're present to how that feels as that thought arises, then we can choose to take our tongue off the roof of our mouth. That de-engages the pituitary gland, which is like the hormone regulation system, and then the thought falls back into the body. Well, the energy falls back into the body. If we breathe deeply for a little bit, with the tongue off the roof of the mouth, then the thought will slowly pass from our awareness.
Okay, so hold on. So you're talking about thoughts arising, and you're talking about thoughts arising down here and coming up and going through the heart.
Simultaneously. They arise in both places. Like the mind starts to get a thought and it pulls the energy.
And it pulls the energy of, are you talking about emotions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the thought arises in the brain and the mind, and it brings the feelings, the emotion, from down here somewhere.
It draws the energy to all those places in our body.
Okay, I see. So the energy is coming up. So
to the associated areas. So whenever we use to experience that initial place, it draws energy to those places. And then we can feel what that feels like. So is it like a torsion that doesn't feel balanced? Is it something that hurts?
I mean, usually.
Or is it something that feels good?
I mean, this would be nice if we were going along and really people just did this. They have their thought and they're aware, oh, this thought just came, and then they're aware, or you're just breaking it down saying this is what happens, not necessarily this is what people are aware of.
Yeah, I'm just breaking it down so they can become aware of it and help to rearrange it.
Okay, so you're saying that basically the energy, the activating energy, is just your chi, your general chi, which you keep in your dantian.
Mm-hmm.
And so So that energy goes and to wherever in your body. We're using the example of anger in one's jaw,
Mm-hmm.
let's say.
Yeah, so for me, like when you say the word anger, I feel a complex of this pulling inward, a little bit of energy dropping down and pressing on the kidneys, and then a corresponding energy coming up to around the amygdala, like this area of my brain. So I become aware of those places. I also become aware of a little bit of tension right here. And so if that were to arise, and I was aware of that thought arising that was continuing to create anger, I would let the tongue go off the roof of my mouth. I would relax my root muscles as deeply as possible and breathe into, like, basically my sex organs, like very grounding breaths. And so it brings awareness to like the part of your body and your sciatic nerve that grounds energy. So,
Okay.
yeah. And by grounding energy, I mean it doesn't grow. So if we chose to go into that memory, we would again grow all those areas of our brain that experience anger, and we would refresh those cells in our heart that experience that crushing feeling.
Are you? Because at times you talked about you take it and you you put it down, or actually what you're really saying is you kind of allow a dropping down.
Let
is
it
that
go.
more?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. So that's a little bit more specific. So you're letting it go, and by letting it go, it may drop down. Because at times in the past, you've spoken about it as you put it somewhere. You put it down here. You take it and you put it.
Mm-hmm.
Put it somewhere. So that's a little bit different.
It doesn't work as well if you put it as letting it go.
Then letting it go. So that's you change your wording
Modified
on that,
the process.
That sounds more.
At the same time, if you've had a whole lot of salt and sugar and excitatory stuff, and you've got thought processes like going, and you're kind of stuck in that, it's more difficult to let go. Like a lot of people have trouble letting go. And for those, when I'm in that state, what I tend to do is like put energy here. I just like don't let, it's more of a force as opposed to a relaxing and letting go. It's more like a forceful. I just put it down to the bottom of my feet. And then I know my awareness kicks in. I'm like, I need some potassium. I need some water to filter out.
So when you feel an emotion coming up,
Mm-hmm.
you either let it drop down or you push it down to the bottom of your feet.
I examine the content first.
Okay.
But that's very quick. I mean, in the first second of a thought, you know exactly where it's going. So you remember
You do,
something.
but not everyone might.
Not everyone. Yeah.
Fraction of a second.
Yeah.
So we're talking about lots of different kinds of people and how different people could do this.
Well, I think the first thing to do is have a more plant-based diet with alkalinizing, because you got to get all the salt and sugar and hormones out of the system to really slow it down enough where you can be present to your
but what do
thoughts.
you do with maybe all it takes really is the plant-based diet, and then all people's traumas and emotional baggage will go away. I mean, maybe you feel
they become easier too, because you start building a new world, a new way of associating with the world.